Right. Yeah. So question.
Okay, first animation question. How big a pain would it be to make custom animations to reflect a home cockpit setup that uses the Oculus Rift?
Yeah, that's a good question because engineering goes into making all that work properly, right?
The
So,
home stretch shirt. Oh, hell yeah.
so, so what you have is you have a mount animation that gets played. So, in an example in 300i, there's a spot right behind the seat that you walk up to, and at that point you can hit use, and code says, all right, time to mount the guy to the spaceship. So I'm going to play the cockpit animation in sequence with the character animation. The character sits down, he spins around, grabs a hold of the controls, and at that point we turn IK on. And IK will snap his hands to yoke, and then whatever you do at that point will control your character's arm. So if you fly to the right or to the left, the yoke will turn, which in turn will turn the character's hands. And then if we have an animation that, let's say you need to punch some controls off to the side, so you activate that in particular command, it will play an animation to decorate that command. So in the animation, it'll say turn off IK. It turns off. Oh, for those of you who don't know what IK is, IK stands for inverse kinematics. So forward kinematics is I move my arm, I move my elbow, and I move my hand. Inverse kinematics is I can grab my hand and it moves the whole arm. So, okay, that aside, you turn off IK, play the animation of punching some controls, he comes back over to that yoke, and IK turns back on. Little technical issues that come up is in game development that we have to think about is position of that yoke. Is the yoke straight up and down? Is it at kind of an angle? The 300i has kind of set the standard for that because it's our first real ship built, so they're kind of at an angle. And it's at this far away from the character. Everything is lined up properly because if in a ship the yoke is maybe farther apart and maybe further forward, what's going to happen is the animation is going to play, and then right when the IK is supposed to turn on, the hands will pop out to whatever that yoke is. So we try to keep a consistency in all of our cockpits. Now we are going to have different cockpit configurations. So we're going to have different poses that the pilot can be. We got the one like in the 300i. It's kind of like the commercial airliner steering wheel. We have one that's like a dual joystick on either side. Then you have the fighter pilot with the yoke in the middle and like the throttle on the side to increase your speed, and which is kind of cool, right? So if you happen to have a flight stick and an accel throttle or whatever those things are called, right? You'll put your hand on there, and as you at your desk push forward or backwards to go faster or slower, because your character's arm is IK to that throttle, you'll see your arm if you happen to look down, and especially if you're using like the Oculus Rift and you like look down at yourself as you're moving back and forth, you'll see your character moving and piloting or whatever it happens to be. So if you want to get that's kind of roundabout ways. So if you want to customize your own cockpit, there's a kind of a template you can actually follow where you can go in and kind of put in your own assets and say, oh, this is what I want my screen to look like because it's really cool. If it fits that template, it will just work with animations. If you want something very unique to your animations or to your cockpit that you want animation, you'll have to create an animation to properly play it. Otherwise, it could look a little awkward. So you just kind of need to know the steps. You need to know how to go into code and do whatever it takes to turn IK on and off at a certain point and in the animation. So I don't know. I hope that helps. There's different zones, right? So in case you do build your own cockpit, you have two panels that are right here that your character can reach. You have two panels like right here that your character can reach. And you have some right over your head that you can reach, and they're split left and right. So you can be flying with one hand and be like hitting some buttons up here and come back, and so that's kind of how it's broken apart.
You actually managed to answer 3 of the questions at once with that one. Folks wondering about their own cockpits and their own modeling ships, how they would connect to the animations you're doing. One other question though, are you going to animate low and zero gravity, and if so, how?
That's an interesting question. So part of that's a design question because we have zero gravity that our characters go into. And I was actually thinking about this the other day. What happens if we have a spaceship that has zero gravity, right? Well, what if we use the swimming physics to kind of like I know you're not underwater, but what if we were able to use that system kind of float you through?
Actually, Brian, there's already zero G support in the engine. We just need the
is there?
animation. Yeah.
Oh, so, hey, you learn something new every day, right? So we just have to figure out what animations decorate that system and create them.
I say we take the mocap system over to Houston's NASA system and dump it all into water into a tank. And,
I want
all the.
How about
just go over
the
plane?
plane? What do they call it? The Bowman Comet? Yeah. Yeah, that'd be fun. I know James Cameron right now is developing a technology. It's a markerless motion capture system. He's developing it for the next Avatar movie to allow to do motion capture underwater. So I guess they put all these cameras underwater and
He's just mixing together all his things now.
However
isn't
it
he?
works, and you throw your actor, and you kind of got that water weightless swimming, which would be pretty cool. So, yeah, who knows?
All right. Now we're going to jump to one other thing for a moment. Before we started the live stream yesterday, like half an hour before, we had a visit from an old friend, Adam Foshko, veteran of several Wing Commander games. He stopped by the Austin office, and we recorded a little video. And let's show that.
Hey everybody, welcome back. You're not going to believe who stopped by today. A good friend of ours that worked on the Wing Commanders with Chris and myself, Adam Foshko, and we're just about to go live. So you're here in Austin.
Yeah.
And then...
Well, I was in New York yesterday. I fell into Austin for this, and then I got on a plane to go to LA. But I couldn't really leave. I couldn't fly over the middle of the country without dropping off here and saying hi and wishing everybody the best and
Checking out the
just kinda
clown
come
car.
in. Yeah, the clown car. It is small. We'll call it it's bijou. It's
Bijou.
efficient.
Actually, see, Adam's the lead writer at Activision, right?
Right,
So,
Call of Duty and Skylanders and
there you go. Well, those are two very different games.
very. I like to be sort of completely diametrically opposed as possible.
Have you ever thought about putting like a Call of Duty spin on the Skylanders universe and just having some fun with that?
It's ugly. It's ugly when you think about that. It really